those objects. Right? If we go over to the right side, fjord, and they're not seeing them. But these objects haven't changed. They're all sitting in perspective. The person in the center is pretty much seeing all of them, but might have a little bit of some of the two objects a little bit hidden, but for the most part, take a little example. All right, so wherever you are, you just kind of square yourself to the screen. And what I'd like for you to do is take your thumb, take it from your nose, bring it out, maybe 6 inches, and try to line it up right in the center. And then, once you feel like you've got that lined up, I'd like you to close one eye and then the other eye and see what happens.
Wow. Oh, wow.
What happens?
One stays, one leaves.
Yeah, it seems like they're shifting, but they didn't. They're still stationary, right? So now if you take your thumb and you kind of come out maybe a foot or so, see what happens when you change from one eye to the other. You'll see a larger degree of shift. So what does this have to do with Christian counseling? Christian identity and our professional identity. And what happens if we've got our client or clients, it might be a family, a group, or an individual. Objective is to really focus on in this perspective. Compassion. Their spiritual self. Not even not discerning how God might be guiding the process for this particular dude into just focusing on the professional side, right? So what if we shift professional second, and I'm just looking at the Christian side and scripture, and it's like, well, we're just focused on that. Okay. Not violations, but risk of ethical violations, because we may be discounting or ignoring what's going on. What we need to be doing would be that we're always centering ourselves, and we're having a balanced view of both. And we can still retain, trying to find that right sweet spot, that balance time. In Sandra, very interesting to come across as Christians, that Christians tend to take, when I read it, taking it as a parable. And I invite you now, when you go back to the very beginning, and I said, all right, so you hear the word, think of what your response was. And we'll experience all four at some parts of our journey. In our high view, a kind of suggestion, because are being legislated by, I'm not saying any of us, anybody, because it just doesn't make sense to me. This is my perspective. Kind of authority except from God, and there's a reason for governing laws or for protection of public or for protection of our congregations or wherever we're proposing. It says so many things, and that almost like those two different. So for those who are being able to follow them. But in every made known, will guard your hearts balance. So we're not statutary in nature. My life was so I didn't know a whole lot. I started off more in this area. So I would acknowledge to do, not just for the state level, is a Christian. I know I'm doing the right thing. Where God wants to believe I'm doing.
Not onto your own.
From this particular 3 times, they've been updating site. LPCs, social workers, is also
Or just whatever it's
about the section. I mean, it's a page. Why is it that we have to be so explicit?
and knowing what you need.
Exactly. And it might be taken, right? All right. So, and this one, maybe people avoid keeping up with their codes of ethics because of anxiety. Well, I suggest Philippians 4, 6, and 7. If it's because we're cutting another one from James 1:5 that says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let them have. We think of the ethics being overwhelmed, we can pray for it. And Sanders talks about perspective, our